hear me yet?
Yeah, man, I got you. I can't.
Sweet. Dude, I just finished up the first episode.
Did you really?
Yeah, perfect timing.
What'd you think?
I thought it was sick, man. So many ideas on there that I would emulate with. Same
And
thing,
that
dude.
and that is the goal, man. You got video?
Yeah, let me see. I use Zoom on my phone all the time. Let's see. Oh yeah. There we go.
This. How are you?
Hey boy, how you doing?
I'm doing well. So everybody, welcome to episode 2 of an Untold Narrative. Tell them who you got in the room.
Atticus Radley. Dave knows me pre-Atticus. I'm a photographer in Brooklyn, New York. Try to make creative things.
So that is my first question. So my goal of this was really to do and have conversations with people that I really only have relationships through like online platforms, and that like I very rarely see in real life, or that like we've never met in real life. And so we obviously come from the same town, but we never spoke. We didn't really hang out. We didn't do any of that. And your name was different.
Yeah.
So I gotta ask you about that.
Yeah. So my real name is Matthew Williams. What happened was when I was getting into photography, I was looking up like websites. So I type in Matthew Williams photography, and it's like 65 photographers, different designers, graphic designers, and I was just like, dude, there is no way that I'm gonna stick out in this sea of Matthew Williamses. So if that's the right like way to say plural Williams. Yeah. So then I at the time was like reading To Kill a Mockingbird, and I combined the two people's names, the two characters, Atticus Finch and Boo Radley, and I just was like.
I mean, it's a great sounding name. Don't get me wrong. It's just,
Yeah.
As like our history progressed to this Instagram platform, and you obviously, I follow you for your photography, and I'm just like, I think he just changed his name. I made the connection with How to Kill a Mockingbird because like we had to read it in high school and we went to the same high school. So like,
Yeah.
I made the connection, but I had no idea why. And it totally makes sense because Matthew Williams might be the most popular name on this planet.
Yeah, it's like next to John Smith.
So how many years ago was that?
Probably six years ago.
And you introduced yourself as Atticus.
Yeah, because what ended up happening was I would show up for a job to shoot, and the client would be like, "Hey, Atticus, nice to see you," and I would like have to like go through this whole spiel, like, "Oh no," and like explain what I just explained to you, and then it got to the point where it was just like everybody was calling me Atticus when I would show up on set or would show up for a shoot, and then I was just like, "Dude, that's it, new person, let's go." I'm running with this, and yeah, I almost get weird like when people call me Matt now. Like my ear like twinges. It's like, and I'm like, wait, what? You know me from? I know that you know me from back in the day if you call me Matt, but
that's incredible. I don't think many people do that. I think you're very unique, and that's why I'm stoked to have you because like I know that you're a very creative and very unique person, and I think just that story alone, I think that just tips it all the way off, and like it's awesome. So if anybody listens to this and you're confused about your name and stuff like that, fucking make up a new one.
Yeah. If you don't know what to call your photography or your name or whatever, if you want to name yourself Jet Ski, go for it.
And like
everyone loves jet skis, man.
You see it more and more these days, even on Instagram or platforms where people are trying to find more unique names. And like, I'm very fortunate where my last name, I think there's only 3 people in the entire United States with that last name. So like, I've looked it up, but like, I'm good. So I don't need to do that. But yeah, like I said, we both grew up in Wolcott, Connecticut. It's a smaller town of 15,000 people. Some people don't think that's that small. I think it's small. But I guess it depends on where you come from and what country and stuff like that. but we never really, had a relationship or a friendship or anything like that. I think you were a year younger than I.
Yeah, I'm 27.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm 28. Um, and I'm very curious as to right after high school, what did you do? What happened? You live in New York, you live in Brooklyn. A lot of people that come from Wolcott, Connecticut don't leave Wolcott, Connecticut. Um,
Yeah,
and they
no
don't
shade
do
to that though. My brother's there, loves it. Like he's got a nice little house. Like he wants to start a family,
totally
and I
nothing
love
wrong
going
with
back
that.
to visit. But different like just career ambitions were driving me in a different lane.
So did you know that did you go to college or anything like that?
Yeah, so I went to post university for a year. Um, was weird. Wasn't a big fan. It was in Waterbury, and dude, Waterbury is the strangest place on earth. Then I went to Southern, and for 2 years, and going into my senior year, I was just like, I was miserable. I was getting the best grades I'd ever gotten in my life, and I felt so unsatisfied and unaccomplished, and just like I couldn't take it anymore, and I just dropped out. I was like, that's it.
Shit.
And then I knew I had to do something the next year, and I was like, I gotta go to New York. Like, I was like, oh, I skipped a part in there. So I went to Australia. I did study abroad while I was at Southern.
Really?
Yeah, I did 6 months abroad,
In
and
Australia?
yeah, in Sydney.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, so I was in marketing school. Thought I was going to be a businessman wearing a suit every day,
Nice.
and when I went over to Sydney, I knew I had to get a camera to like just capture this like part of my life, and I wanted to have the memories, and I'd always wanted a camera. So I got a job with my buddy chopping down trees in Nassau County, New York. So we would drive like 2 hours every day from Connecticut at literally wake up at 5 in the morning,
Right.
cut trees down for like 12 hours, and then drive home for 2 hours. So we were sleeping like 5 hours a night. And I did that for like, I don't know, a month. And then I was able to afford my first camera. And then
Wow.
like probably 3 days after that, I went to Australia.
Holy shit.
Literally just bought a Canon camera and just went
So you just worked this bizarre job simply to buy a camera.
simply to buy a camera. It was like a shitty month, but it was like the best month ever looking back, because it's like,
Totally.
dude, I wouldn't be where I am if I didn't cut down trees for a month.
That is
Just,
that is the most bizarre way to get a camera.
well, yeah, trade your time for money.
Yeah, seriously. So when you were in Australia, you were still studying marketing, or like it was
Yep.
part through Southern Connecticut?
Yeah, this is pre-New York. So I was at Southern still a business major. And then I just found myself shooting every single day. Like I didn't go anywhere without a camera. And I didn't take it seriously. I thought photography was like a really shitty career. I was like, dude, who wants to do that? Like I'll end up having to do wedding photos, or
Right.
like nothing wrong with that. You make tons of money doing wedding photos, but it just wasn't it didn't like suit my creative vision. Like I didn't think like I could have any sort of creativity with that. So I just didn't take it seriously as a career. And then one of my buddies got me tickets to Soundwave Festival, which is kind of like Warp Tour.
Yeah, yeah.
And I thought he just got me normal tickets, but he knew I just bought a camera. So I showed up, and this dude was like, yo, I got you a press pass. So I was like on stage with like all of my favorite bands at the time.
He bought you a press pass?
He didn't buy it for me. He was in a band, and he knew one of the band's managers, and the manager was just like, "Yo, I got you a press pass," because
Oh no
the
shit.
concert was sold out, and the tickets were $300. And I was just
And
like,
then you shot the entire show.
I shot the entire show, and then I didn't know how to edit the pictures, but I stayed up till like 3 in the morning after the show, applying filters to every single image, and then I sent the band like a Dropbox email that night of like, I don't know, 1,000 images.
Holy
And
crap.
then they were like, dude, this is crazy. Come to our hotel in the morning, and you can come to our show tomorrow night and shoot again. And that
What
was like
band is this?
it was what band?
Yeah.
Sleeping with Sirens.
Oh no shit.
Yeah.
Shout out
It was,
Sleeping with Sirens then.
yeah, and Memphis Mayfire too. Like I remember like the next morning waking up and like all of their profile pictures had changed to like these really shitty images. It was the first day I used a camera. It was literally the first day I used a camera. And the pictures looking back, I was like, damn, what was I doing?
Are they still up there on like their Instagram or anything?
Maybe way back. It was like 2014 or
Because what I've
something.
been doing is, if you watch the prelude, I've been popping up photos. So I'm actually gonna go do my research after I edit this, and I'm gonna
Oh my
pop it up in
God.
the center here.
They're probably on my Instagram too. Yeah.
I'll have to find them.
Dude, it was so funny. I remember even asking a guy on the left of me because the pictures kept coming out blurry. I was like, dude, how do I get this to stop coming out blurry? And he was like a professional photographer, like giant lens. And he was just like, give me your camera. And he just like flipped the settings. And then I just ran with his settings for the rest of the time.
No shit.
I didn't know, I had no idea what I was doing.
Never took it. Yeah, you had no idea.
Yeah.
So you
And then
did the next day the show.
I did the next show the next day. And they were like backstage and like feeding me drinks. And just, it was like, I was like, wait, this is what working as a photographer is like?
Nice.
I was like, this is insane.
I could do this.
So I got a little hooked on concert photography for a while, but then I started to realize like it all looked the same, and I hopped out of that. I also met, when I was in Australia, I met this girl, Beth, and I'll probably butcher her last name, but I think it's Saravo. Instabath. She's killing it. She still shoots concerts, but she was the first person to teach me how to shoot on manual because I kind of expressed that problem to her. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. And she's like, dude, this setting does this setting does this setting does this. And once you get those like 3 major settings for exposure, dude, your world opens up.
Totally.
So shout out Beth. You're the best girl.
we'll tag her down below.
Yeah, please. She's so rad. Maybe a great person to put on this too. Yeah, so from there I went back to the States and I was just shooting all the time. I was in business school still, shooting all the time, and that was when I really like couldn't take the business school. I hated it. And then I dropped out, went to New York, did a 1-year photography program at New York Film Academy. Wasn't a fan of it. And then when I was there, a lot of the people that were there were like, oh, I applied to SVA, but I didn't get in. And I was like,
SVA.
it's the School of Visual Arts.
Okay.
And then I looked at the work that they had on their website from like graduates or kids in their senior theses were up on the website. And I remember being blown away and just being like, this is the kind of work I want to make. So I applied to SVA, got in, did a year there, way too expensive. But that was like, for me, like where I learned the most in photography. Just, it was a rad school to go to. So if anyone's
What year
looking
is
for
that?
photo schools, what year? I think like 2017.
Okay, so this is, a few years back.
Yeah, I bounced around a bit. I had a job in between there too. My timeline, I need to maybe draw out my timeline so I
It
could
sounds
explain
very
it easier.
extensive. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just going every which way I could. Just shoot, just anything to shoot, really.
So you are a 3 different school dropout.
Yep.
And I don't think that's a negative thing. I hope people don't take that negative. I think that's incredible.
No, I took what I needed from there. That's
Yeah.
what I felt like. I went in, I took they were like, oh, this class isn't really going to help you for your major. But I was like, this is what I want to learn.
Yeah, totally.
It wasn't about the certificate or the degree for me. It was about like, if I want to take a history class because I want to learn history, I'm going to take it.
And so the SVA school, is that in New York?
Yeah.
Okay, so you were already living in New York, or you moved to New York?
I moved to New York for New York Film Academy, and that was a 1-year certificate program. And while I was there, I was looking for like a brand to shoot for. I just wanted to shoot with a clothing brand, and I ended up finding a marketing internship with a clothing brand in Brooklyn, Feltrager. It's kind of
I remember your like early photography like work that you put up on your Instagram. It was all like you trying to you were like literally like shooting brands that you didn't even have work for, but you were like tagging
Yeah.
it, sending it to them.
Yeah. I would do, I think, I think I would do a little bit of that, but a lot of it, like you said, with the relationships and your first like prelude, I like walked into this store and they were like, I was just bullshitting with the guys at the desk and they were like showing me the stuff and they were like, yo, we have a marketing internship. So I applied for the marketing internship, ended up getting it. And while I was doing the marketing stuff, I would always book shoots. I'd be like, yo, can I pull your clothes and like have my buddies wear it and like just skate around and I'll just take all the pictures for you guys. And they ended up at the end of my internship, they're like, dude, why don't you be our in-house photographer? So I was literally like thrown to the wolves.
So
And
you
that
went
was, I
from
think,
marketing intern to photographer.
yeah, just because my passion was in shooting.
Huh.
And those guys, yeah, they took a big chance on me. I was young. I was like 20 years old, probably like 2021. I'd only been shooting for like a year. And then they were like, yo, be our full-time photographer. So, or part-time, but I was like booking all the shoots, finding all the models, styling all the clothes from the store, which I'm not a stylist. Yes, just like you got to bootstrap it sometimes, right?
Dude, you got to learn on the fly. Sometimes, I mean, you'll listen to all these podcasts and these videos, and sometimes you run into people who like don't believe in fake it till you make it. I think there is a little bit of that. I mean, I think at some point you're going to cross a bridge where you're like, am I going to say no or am I going to say yes? And I'm going to learn how to do it on the way.
Yeah, there was a lot of learning that went on to that position. So, like, I had no idea how to produce a shoot. I had no idea how to location scout.
Totally.
But I mean, I had a camera and I was shooting and editing all the time. So I had the major like chunk. And I think that's like, it's not necessarily faking it till you make it at that point. It's kind of like you have a little bit of imposter syndrome where you're like, I might not be able to do this. But I truly believe in never putting anything too far away from you. Like, if you want to be a photographer, don't like, for me, it's like weird. I don't like to call myself a photographer. But at the same time, I don't put it that far away from me, like where I'm afraid to try it.
So when you have a 30-second elevator pitch, what do you say that you do?
Dude, if somebody was like, "Oh, what do you do?" I would just say I take pictures. I like to take pictures. I like to. It's getting into more. I'm trying to rebrand now, which is a weird time in my life, but I want to get more into the ideation side of things, like doing social campaigns for brands, something where it's like, for example, you have a brand that sells water bottles, right?
Right.
But they're really their mission is to make a cleaner environment. Like, they're selling reusable water bottles. Their mission isn't to just be like, here's a bottle. Their mission is to be like, listen, you're going to change the world. You're going to have less plastic in the oceans. You're making a step towards environmentalism and helping your local community by not having plastic bottles on the street. So I think that's the side of things that I want to get into, where I can take a company's product and really get to the meaning behind it.
So you want to do more like full scope storytelling.
Yeah, I really want to restart a creative agency, and that's what I've been focusing on over this quarantine time.
So is that doing that yourself or like joining a company or a brand?
Now doing it myself. I have
Okay.
an LLC, so I'm
For your
rebranding that.
freelance photography business.
Yep.
So
But
I do want to talk about that because myself included, I know nothing about freelance photography. Like you talked about earlier, your immediate understanding when somebody says freelance photographer is like you do weddings, you do engagement photos, you do, the pretty stuff. And
yeah,
and it's not to say that those people aren't super talented and there's no money in it, because there's a lot.
tons of
But
money in it.
that's like the perception. So like when you've been working over the past few years as a quote unquote freelance photographer, how do you find work? What does that entitle? Like, how do you differentiate yourself from somebody else? Because I think I think you're going to educate a lot of people. I recorded the first episode with this awesome kid, Shane. And like, I learned so much about what he's done in his past career that it just blew my brain out. And I think if you just touch on a couple of those points, I think you're going to educate a lot of people.
Huge. What does Shane do?
So he went from devoting his entire life being a 300-pound football player at BC. He's still in college. He's graduating this year, to now being like a 200-pound artist. And he's fucking sick.
Oh my God, dude.
I'm launching the episode on Monday. So I think it's going to be, it's an hour long. It's incredible.
Yeah. Dude, my process of getting clients is so similar to how you found a job before you graduated college. Email a million people.
I love that. Let's go.
Dude, like I remember for like 2 years, I woke up at 5:30 in the morning. I would write in my journal, do a blog post, because I did like a 365 blog post.
I want to talk about that. I don't know if
we'll get to that later.
Okay.
and then I would hop on from like 10 to 12 for 2 hours or more, finding brands that I wanted to work with, sending them a couple examples, sending them a pitch of, hey, I can shoot my 2 buddies in this area, and for whatever, like, we would love to work with this product. I think it would be a perfect mix for this shoot. Would you guys be interested? And they would get back to me and be like, hey, we'll send you a product. And I'd be like, sorry, like I need just like this amount for a budget. And it would either be like, I don't know. So it's you get 3 answers. No answer, we'll send you a product, or yes, how much? And it's like 2 of those answers will be people paying out of 150 emails.
Right.
But the other thing is, sometimes you do have to take the product and really exceed their expectations. So shoot for free. It sucks. Sometimes it sucks, but at the same time, I'm in this because I love to take pictures.
Right.
I'm not necessarily in this just for the money. And when I wanted to be like a lifestyle photographer, I would take the products, kill it for them. And some brands would come back and say, hey, listen, we loved what you did the first time. We'll give you a budget now. And that has been the growth, building that relationship.
It's a long-term strategy. I mean, people who just like are always like, no, I need X number of dollars. That's just so short-term. And you're probably going to even get more no's than yeses that way.
Yeah.
Versus trying to grow a relationship.
Exactly. It is a long game. Like I always tell myself, like, you're playing the marathon. That's like, be good to people, do the best work that you can. And during that time, I think a lot of people will be like, wait, but like, if you were only getting a little bit of money from them, I worked manual labor jobs while doing that.
Right.
I would work.
It's not, that doesn't consume your entire day. You're doing other shit.
Dude, I worked 14 hours a day, like every single day, putting granite on countertops. And then I would leave there and go stump grinding, which is like, literally, if somebody has a stump in their front yard, you take a giant machine and it chops the stump down until it digs a hole in the ground. And then you fill it back in with dirt. It's backbreaking work. And then every day I would leave there and I would shoot for 2 hours.
Well, would you catch like golden hour afterwards?
Yep, every day.
That's a long day. I mean, you starting at 5, so like you're not ending until 8, 9 o'clock.
Yeah, it was a long, dude. It was like every summer when I was coming home from college, that's what I did. And then any weekend I had off, I was booking shoots to try to make some extra cash and to try to like build my name and build a career.
And so is that still like, does that bring you to current day? Is that like really what you still do?
Yeah. So from those days, I've built the relationships now to where they actually pay me a day rate.
That sounds awesome compared to back then.
Yeah. So it's like, you don't like, now I have some pretty loyal clients, like, but I do some assisting now too, which I think I'm stepping out of. So I assist a few photographers in the city, and it was great. It was great for a year to just like learn more of the lighting side of things. You get fed like a king on set. It's pretty amazing.
Really?
Yeah, you show up and there's
When
like
you, so I gotta ask, because I'm just an idiot, right? And so like, what does on set mean, right? I mean, I'm assuming that varies whether it's a clothing brand or like, because when I think of on set, I think of a movie.
yeah, it actually looks like a movie set when I say on set, but like there's so many studios in the city. But some of the photographers I assist for, one guy is a celebrity photographer. Um, another guy does like clothing brands. So we'll be like in their offices, they have like a studio set up. I'm trying to think. I've assisted a few other people that have their own studios, but mainly it's at like Milk, Pier 59, um, Root Studios. A few, there's a bunch, but it looks like a movie set.
That's awesome, or it sounds awesome. I don't know if it is or not. Um,
It's again long days, but and every time you're there, you're just like, damn, like I could be shooting this.
I could be doing this.
Yeah.
So I do want to go backwards before I forget. I want to talk about because probably the first time I like really was like I like really like fuck with what you're doing was when you were writing a blog post every single day, and you
Mhm.
did it for an entire year straight, which
It took me
is
about a
not
year and a
freaking
half.
easy.
It took me about a year and a half. There was some times when I was traveling or doing things that I just like had no internet, or there was some weeks where I was just not having the best week and I didn't want to do it.
Sure.
Um, that shit happens. Like, you can't beat yourself up over it, but I knew that I was going to finish no matter what.
That's
That was like my
incredible.
mindset
And
that I was.
so we'll have the link below, but like on your website, you still do blog every once in a while, and I
Yeah,
think you've progressed into becoming a really good writer as well.
dude, that is a huge compliment, but I don't think so. Oh my God.
Because like it's so I'm gonna relate it, right? And like so I just started, and I've been pushing this off since college because I went to school for design, and like back then everyone's like, oh, build your own, website, put your work up there, blah blah blah. I've been putting it off for over 5 years, and like I just never have done it. And then this past fall I finally did it. I bought my own website. I finally invested the time and the money into it, and now I write every once in a while. I did it for 120 straight days. It was a third of a year. Every
Damn.
single day. I didn't skip a day.
There you go. See, there's
And
no reason. There's no reason to skip a day.
yeah, I mean, you would give yourself, but it would be like sometimes I'd cut it. It'd be 11:59 p.m.
Yeah.
that day, and I'd post, and then the next morning I would do it to cover that entire day. So like I like finagled it a little bit, but then I like hit. It was just like I needed a week break. I like mentally I was like I can't do this. Like I need a
Yeah,
break.
like you don't have
I hit
anything to
one,
write about.
and I was like so proud of that. I'm like that's literally a third of a year. I'm like that's good enough.
Yeah, yeah.
But I
I
totally
think
stole the idea from you.
dude, but I kind of stole that idea from Casey Neistat. This dude was like, did a vlog every single day. And I was like, why can't I just write a blog every single day? Why can't I have a 365 thing to just get me moving? And it made me shoot more because I needed pictures for it. Um, it made me, yeah, I'm not a writer, but
But you learn how to like write better over time. And like even with myself, like before I would literally just write whatever emotions I was feeling, and then I read back on them and I'm like, oh, that's garbage. And like now you can like position it better because like how the reader is gonna want to consume it.
yeah, yeah, I think there's a lot of growth in there because you become aware of what you're doing wrong. Like you could write something and not necessarily like your writing skills. My grammar's still horrendous. I have Grammarly and it still does nothing for me. I think Grammarly is like, bro, what's wrong with your head?
This will literally never be sponsored by Grammarly thanks to you.
I'm sorry, Grammarly. You guys are the best.
I'm just kidding. It's probably
Saving my life.
It was funny. Shane and I were joking when we recorded our episode at the end. We're like, oh, we need like a beer. We were like, shout out Bud Light or Bush Light. Like, let's get in on this.
Oh, damn, dude. You need a beer company.
Totally.
That'd be a great way to tip it off.
That would be awesome. But so yeah, no, you wrote for a very long time. You still do write, and your photography, in my opinion, has gotten really, really good. I think it's like some of the like, and I follow a number of New York City art photographers, And like New York City's great, right? Because you're always surrounded by content that you can shoot. And
Yeah.
there's reflections, there's shadows, there's highlights, there's movement, there's people, there's literally everything you can ever imagine to shoot. And
Hmm.
so how do you think that you like separate yourself from anybody else?
Oof, that's a juicy one.
That is a juicy one.
Uh, dude, I like to think I'd like to think that I'm unique in some sense, but there's so many ideas that I'll have that'll pop into my head. I'll write it down, and a week later, I'll see some famous photographer doing it.
Oh, shit.
Like, or I'll see like Joe Schmo photographer doing it too. Like our brains are so similar, like they're made up in the same way. It's like I for me, what I'm aiming to do is like to be at the cutting edge of what's about to be that next idea or what's about to be that crazy idea, and it doesn't always work out. Um, trying to think how I differentiate myself. Just
I mean, you hinted about the relationships part, right? And to me, that's huge because even in the design world, I tell people all the time, I don't think you have to be the best drawer or the best, visual artist or anything like that. You have to be the best communicator of ideas. And so if
yeah,
that takes a shit sketch in order to communicate a better idea than a really pretty drawing, I'm cool with that. And
yeah.
and the only way to really do that is then it comes down to like a little bit of EQ versus the
Mhm.
IQ part of it.
Yeah, you know what? That like reminds me of something. I with my work always try to show and not tell. Um, it was a piece of advice someone gave me a long time ago, and it has worked out tenfold. Um, if you want to shoot something for a company, go shoot it and send it to them, and then say, "Hey, I would love to do a tiny shoot with you." It takes a lot more work to do it, but like if you want to pitch the New York Times, you can't like just send them the idea. They want to see that you've gone out, you've spent the time shooting it, that you have the photos already done, and then they'll trust you to do another shoot. They might send you on an assignment, but you have to like show first. Just like
Totally.
you with your portfolio, you wanted a job, man. Focused on your portfolio. You said, "Look what I can do," and they said, "Let's hire this kid." But if you had went to them and said, "I could do it," and didn't have anything to show, they would have been like, "Dude, buzz off."
Yeah, it's exactly the same thing. So now that you've kind of built up a few brands, it sounds like the next thing you're working on is this creative agency. Like, how do you is that like, how close are you to actually finalizing and working on that, or is that like a
So
couple
we
down the
we
road?
do have a job booked for July.
Oh shit.
So,
Okay.
but the first job, it might not be the best day rate or it might not be the best budget, but the point of the first job is to get a case study done so I can show other brands that we can do this. Um, my goal with that is to have culturally impactful work because we see all the time, like I said, you see a brand just post their product. You know what I mean? Like, how does I don't know? Think of a weird brand that you'd never expect to see on Instagram, like KitchenAid or something.
Right.
Like, how does I don't know, it's like Bounty paper towels make an impactful, engaging Instagram post? Or how do they make a social campaign, or how do they make a campaign that's socially impactful? I think that a lot of these brands need to put their morals and their political beliefs and a lot of their statements at the forefront of their message, specifically on Instagram.
Right.
Because if I don't know if like Dove body soap says like posts a picture and says "fuck Trump," well, guess what? They're gonna get 100,000 people saying like "yeah, fuck Trump," and they're gonna get 100,000 people saying like "oh, I totally agree with you," or "I totally disagree with you. Trump is the man." You know what I mean? And it's like you're taking something that would have absolutely no engagement, a bar of soap, and then you're making it into like you've got 200,000 comments that you wouldn't have had before. And whether or not that drives your soap sales, it doesn't have to be so extreme.
But
But
it's engaging, right? And and I think what people don't understand this day, the biggest thing that I've learned is you have to go where people's attention goes.
Yeah.
People's attention is on the presidency and on politics. Go where that is. It's
Yeah.
just, the best example of that is fucking Tiger King. You know how many people outside of Netflix have made money off that shit?
Damn. That's genius. That's pure genius.
Like, like
Like,
regardless.
so social commentary, like if you're Dove soap, why don't you post hire an influencer that does carving sculptures, make him carve Joe Exotic, and then say who else watched, like, out of your soap, and then just say who else watched Tiger King. You're
Totally.
gonna get 100,000 comments that say yes, I watched it, yes, I watch it, and then you might get 50 that say
And
fuck Tiger King.
the next time there's those same people who commented are walking through Target, which soap do you think they're picking up? Which one's in their brain? I always
So
go back to, you ever see the movie Focus with Will Smith?
I haven't.
It's with Margot Robbie.
Love Margot Robbie.
Yeah, who doesn't?
So keep
No,
talking. I'm gonna put a hoodie on, but I could hear you.
okay, cool. And the best part of that movie, in my opinion, is so they're gambling in a football stadium, and they're with this really rich guy, and they're trying to, he keeps losing bet after bet after bet after bet. Will Smith does, and he keeps one-upping, and he's got a little bit of a gambling problem, or at least that's what's perceived, right? And he keeps going $100,000, $200,000, $2 million, $4 million. He keeps doubling up, doubling up. Then at the final one, he's like, he's just like, okay, what I'm gonna do, pick any number out there on any player's jersey, and he's like, I'm gonna guess it. And what he was doing, and he guessed it right, the number was 55 in the movie. He was planting seeds throughout the guy's past like 2 weeks or something like that, the number 55 in chandeliers. He was like ingraining it into this person's brain. So subconsciously, he immediately was drawn to 55. Now, I don't know how, like, if that's 100% true or like, but the principle is like,
Possible.
it's constantly subconsciously like ingrained in people's like day to day. And if you can make that sort of impact, there's going to be a light switch when that consumer walks through the store. And like, to me, that's so key. You got to go where the attention is.
Yeah, dude, that's even like with jingles and stuff. Like how many jingles did you hear as a kid that you still remember today? And that if you needed like someone to clean your carpet, you'd be like, well, Stanley Steamer, of course.
Yeah, I don't know if people in the other parts of the country know Stanley Steamer, but that motherfucker was all over Connecticut.
I know, dude. I always forget that a lot of those things are regional.
Totally.
You like pop up a jingle on somebody that's from like Des Moines, Iowa, and they're like, "What are you talking about, dude?"
It's so true. So yeah, I mean, it sounds like the creative agency part, that's the big next thing. Anything else that like you want to chat about or bring up? I think I'm super stoked. I really do love your photography. I'm personally not a photographer. I actually regret I sold my DSLR a couple of years ago from college, and now that like you hit Corona land, I'm like, oh, I have all this time where I'm gonna like try to consume it, and I wish I totally had a camera to go like shoot some stuff.
Dude, I wish you had a point and shoot. I know people kind of knock on them, but they're so much better than some DSLRs. Because of DSLR, like you're stuck with this one lens, but you get a point and shoot, dude. It'll like zoom in times 100, and then like you could shoot super wide.
Right.
And they're making the sensors better and better, and mirrorless cameras are pretty insane. So that would be, if you get the chance to pull up on a cheap point and shoot, dude, do it.
I probably will.
Great.
At some point, I'm gonna get into it because like my problem is like as soon as I start something, I'm like gonna go all in and I'm gonna put 10,000 hours into it until I get like relatively decent at it. And and that's just.
Or just
What's that?
use your phone, buddy.
Oh, I mean, I do. I just checked. I have 21,000 photos on my phone.
Jesus, the thing's probably bogging down.
Dude.
It's like, Dave, help.
That's a lot, right?
That's a lot, dude.
I take photos all the time. I'm attracted, I asked the question of like, how do you think you differentiate yourself? Like, to me, my vision, it's always drawn to like highlights and shadows, or, how does the sun hit something and what does it create from that? And how does that rest on top of another object? Because that's like, I'm
light is everything. Yeah.
I'm fortunate that this like apartment gets really good sunlight in the mornings, and like the shadows it creates, it's like it gets me
Beautiful.
jazzed up.
Yeah, dude, that's how I feel. I get like my apartment doesn't get any light. Like the sun rises back there on that wall and then it sets on that wall. So I don't get any light here. But when I go to my girlfriend's apartment, it's like first thing in the morning, she just hears like click, 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 click. And she knows I'm like so excited. I've seen the same light in that apartment 3 million times. I still get pumped up about it.
Totally. Yeah, I feel you on that.
Yeah. Dude, yes. Like I definitely have some questions for you.
Yeah, all right.
We're gonna flip the script.
All
Dude,
right, let's pick it up.
what's your favorite design you've ever done? Because every time I see your stuff, I'm like, I can't believe you worked on this massive project.
So I have like a top two, obviously, and I think one of them most people are familiar with, and I'll start with my number two, and that's the Nike program that we got to work on with Matthew Williams, your name, the guy, founder of a Leaks brand. You know, he's a big Vibram advocate, and when he was working with Nike on their collection together, his goal of the project was to transform a normal trainer or like a runner or a gym shoe into like this outdoor beast, right? That you can tackle a mountain, you can go trail running, you can do this. So he wanted something that would transform an object. And that's why he was like, we got to work with Vibram. We got to create this crampon that'll go over it. And I was really fortunate enough to be able to design and work on it with the Nike team and with him. And then that relationship's really transpired because I got to go to Italy. I was on a talk in front of like GQ Italy, in front of all these things and like a world that doesn't exist to me. It doesn't exist for a kid from Wolcott, Connecticut. That's what people don't understand. And that will always keep me grounded. And like,
yeah,
I don't deserve to be there, but I've worked so fucking hard that part of me is like, no, stop saying that, Dave. Like, you have every right to be there. And so it's like, if I didn't submit good enough designs for Nike for him, I wouldn't have been there. And so and then I got to spend three straight days in Guangzhou, China with him and his team, which was really phenomenal. That was a really cool experience.
Damn.
So that one project, it's like, it's just transpired into this relationship. And you know, he's an incredible brain. But my number one, I got to work on, and you talk about like social impact, you know, environmental impact and stuff like that. Years ago, I got to work on this project with Patagonia, and it was through Danner Boots, which is one of my favorite boot companies as well, because they make in the US. And Patagonia obviously is like the OG in the outdoor world for like sustainability. Yeah. They are a staple. And their founder, Yvon Chouinard, he obviously has a book that's fairly famous. It's called Let My People Go Surfing or something along those lines.
Let my people. That's it. Let my people go surfing.
Yeah, or something like that. And so Patagonia's headquarters is in Ventura, California. And I had the opportunity to design the sole unit for, in my opinion, the best fishing products that have ever been created. He created this tank. And so Danner manufactured the boot. We provided the outsole. And then it was like a collaboration with them, obviously, because he wanted to create the best fishing boots on the market. And so he fucking did. And we created like a lightweight one. And then we created this beast. And I got to go to his house in Ventura, California, on the Pacific coast. And he's so humble and so nice. And like, you talk about an OG, man, that doesn't get any, like, nobody our age knows who he is.
He was an iron worker. He made well, not an iron worker. He made iron, what's it called? Like spikes and shit and crampons and stuff for climbers.
Yeah, and clips, the whole 9 yards, dude. That's how Patagonia was founded. And he if you're listening to this and you don't know the story behind Patagonia, please go look it up. So that was really special because we were sitting there with veterans from Patagonia who have never been to his house, who have been at that company for so decades. And
that's the most diehard like employee base ever.
Totally. And like, they were
like bleed Patagonia.
1000%. And they're like, I don't think you guys realize how rare this is or how impossible it is to do this. And we're literally in this fucking backyard just testing some boots.
Damn.
It was Jesus. It was nuts. That project holds such a special place in my heart.
Yeah, that's like one where you get to meet an idol. Like he's almost like an enigma or something like this.
He's like
That's insane,
some
dude.
godlike figure, dude.
Dude, how was his house? Was it like enormous, or was it
No,
like? Because it's such a humble brand. I was
dude,
always
it's
curious about
and
that.
I feel weird like talking about it because he's obviously so secretive about it. But
Yeah,
and I won't go into like it's not a big house. It's not overwhelming. He doesn't own fancy cars. He doesn't do any of that. He
yeah,
lives very minimally, you can say.
yeah.
He's very
That's
he's
that's really
very
inspiring. Because sometimes you see people at the top that are just like really fucking shitty, you know.
Yep.
And I don't know, like I kind of don't. I don't want to say too much about any particular celebrity. Most of the celebrities that I've been on set with have been just like sweethearts or super
So
nice.
I want to spin zone back to you.
Yeah, yeah,
So I want, and don't name names if you're not comfortable or obviously like who knows where this can go. I think I'm going to take this, whatever this is, I'm going to take it to the fucking moon and I can't wait. But
yeah.
like, what is it like shooting with celebrities? Obviously you're in New York
I
City,
haven't shot. I haven't shot the celebrities. I'm
but
like assisting. I set up the lighting.
okay, but you've been there, you've been on set with them.
Yeah, yeah. It's
What,
no
what's
different than
that like?
shooting a model, really.
That's
Um,
it?
the only difference is there's way more security.
Okay.
There's way more hoops to jump through just to get in the door some days. It's like they have like I was on a set for Apple when they were launching Apple TV and
No shit.
we were shooting with Oprah and like first thing first like you come in, they had to tape up your phone, like put all these sensors on it with a barcode and they scanned it. I ripped mine off like on my way out before I got out the door. They had to go through my entire phone.
So they knew.
They had to make sure that I didn't get any pictures of Oprah on my phone, and I didn't take any pictures of her.
No shit.
I just ripped off the sticker because I was like, oh, well, I'm leaving. I'm about to be out.
See, that's the type of shit people need to understand. Like, I had no idea they do that.
Some sets, it was because it was Apple.
Who's the most famous person you've been like on set with?
Probably Kim Kardashian.
Seriously?
Yeah, but I wasn't too amazed by Kim Kardashian. I was like, I showed up on set one day. They never like this one particular photographer never sends us a call sheet, which is like normally describing who you're shooting, what's getting shot.
Totally.
It drives me nuts because it's just like I need to know like the location, the time, the place, and they're trying to text that to me, which is just like unprofessional. But we get there, and I was like, "Who are we shooting today?" And they're like, "Oh, Kim K." And I was like, "Who the fuck is Kim K?" And they're like, "Kardashian." And I was just like, "Oh, like cool, whatever." But then it clicked, and I was like, "Does this mean that fucking Kanye West is gonna show up on set?"
That's the
And
natural reaction.
and they were like, "Yes, most likely." And the only interaction I had with Kanye was I opened the door and it was two security guards, Kanye West and Kim Kardashian. And I was like, "You're at the wrong door, man." Just closed
Oh,
it.
so you talked to him,
No, I said you're at the wrong door.
but you spoke words towards Kanye.
Yeah, that was it. A lot shorter than I expected, too.
Wait, what did you say?
He's a lot shorter than I expected.
Jesus, Kanye, if you ever hear this, don't take offense to that.
No, dude, I was like, dude, it was like probably the highlight of my life just seeing Kanye West like 3 feet away from me. But and then
I don't think you don't like publicize any of this. I mean, I guess you can't.
no, I can't. If I like posted a picture of like the set or something, I'd probably get in trouble or wouldn't be on set ever again. But
Fair.
the cool part was though, like you kind of hear stuff about Kanye and then like how he's kind of like loves himself and he loves what he does. And in the next room, like it was a big giant hotel room, the Ritz Carlton. That's where we were shooting these like portraits. So Kanye is in like the dressing room, and then we have a studio set up in like the living room of this hotel room. And at the end, when we're breaking down, he's like talking to the stylist, and he's like, "Have you heard my new album?" And it's like that gospel album. And the guy was like, "No, I haven't checked it out yet." And he literally was just like, "Dope, sit down." And he played the entire album front to back. And I was like, that is the most Kanye move you could ever fucking do.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I thought it was so sick. I literally wanted to just be like, dude, I love you. But
That's an incredible story.
yeah, I think Kanye's sick, dude. I think Kanye's probably the coolest person alive. And a lot of people hate him, but I think he's
I
on his
mean,
own
I've listened
wavelength.
to it. I'm a big fan myself, and like, regardless of what you think of the music, and it doesn't matter. Like, obviously, he's progressed through album by album, and each one has a different staple in time. But like, I've listened to a lot of different interviews, and some people think he's like the worst to work with, and other people are like, no, he's the most respectful and genuine person to work with. So,
He seemed super nice to me. You know, I mean, Kim K was super nice too. She was great, and people were like, "Oh, she." It was almost like when she was talking to everyone, she seemed super intelligent and like smart and like great, and she was like really just like a friendly person. And then when they were doing Instagram stories, it was almost like she put on some like act. It was like there was like two different people. She was like, "Oh, I'm dumb." Like it felt
oh,
like
I like massively assume that's not their entire personality. Like, you can't. I mean, 18 years on TV or something like that, right? The Kardashians is
they're
like,
a
so
lot smarter than people think.
there's a lot of showmanship going on there.
Yeah.
Um, and it's nice. I think it's really refreshing and nice to hear that they're normal people.
Yeah, she
Because
seemed super cool, dude. She seemed super like normal, like you could have a bullshit with her or whatever. But I mean,
that's like to me the best part of, like, having opportunities working with these quote unquote famous people, is that at the end of the day they're just like you and I. They're normal fucking humans. And like,
yeah.
one thing people I the challenge, I think, with any creative field, right, is the biggest thing that gets in the way is egos. And I
Hmm.
think that the sooner that artists and creatives can realize that that is what's actually holding them back, is as soon as you let go of that ego, you're going to realize that everybody's on the same playing field, and you can literally just you can understand that you can work right next to them, and that there's no barrier, there's no wall. You just got to go get it.
Yeah, dude, I couldn't have said it better myself, man. It's just like doing the work. And like even myself, I need to like work harder because you see these people, these ultra celebrities and stuff, or you see successful businessmen that I've like photographed, and it's like, dude, they're on another level when it comes to their work ethic. They don't stop. Like Kim Kardashian was on 4 shoots that day, I bet. And that's one day for her life. Like boom, 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 and then boom back to California or wherever.
Yeah.
Those people, I'm getting notifications on my screen. Yeah, those people don't stop. And it's kind of like I told my girlfriend this story, but it's like if you see an entrepreneur work, like a real entrepreneur, somebody who's like made multi-millions off the internet or started an agency, and they do none of the work except convincing people to be a client, and then they offload it to other people. That dude, that work ethic is like nothing you'll ever see. And it's, to me, I don't think you can unsee it. So I'm always like comparing myself to that. I'm always like, shit, dude, like I should be doing stuff right now.
That's really, really well said. And because it's true, because I think in this day and age, it's really easy. So many people have started businesses, or are able to start business. I mean, yourself included, right? I mean, you have your own business, and
Yeah.
and it's
Well,
not a negative thing, but like what you're saying is, it is a grind if you want to be massively successful and to really get to that pinnacle level. And I think what I see happening is that work, or like that 18-hour workday, is like, it's so in front of everybody's face. And I do it too, because I publicly show how much I work, because I work a lot too, because it's just inherently in my blood.
yeah,
And
you have that immigrant mindset, dude. I could smell it from a mile away.
dude, I do, and I'm not fucking stopping until I take this planet to the moon, man. I'm gonna keep going, and I'm gonna keep learning things, and I'm gonna just what I'm trying to get at is, like, it's not for everybody. And
No.
I never want to make it seem like you have to do this. If you're fucking happy working a 9-hour day job, more power to you, dude.
Yeah. I find that like I go in cycles. Like sometimes I'll work super hard for like 6, 7 months, 8 months, and then I'll have like a 2 month come down, and then I'll go back up again. And I realize like I'm not happy when I'm like not doing what I need to get done.
I mean, I burn out probably once every 2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah, dude,
which
same
is
with me.
a lot, which is a lot. And like I'm constantly, working with my therapist on how to figure out how to avoid that crash. Right? It's like it's coming, and you should slow down and take a break, but it's like built in you where you're like, I can't. Like I'm holding myself accountable. I'm not making any excuses. But then when it crashes, it like takes you out for like 3 to 4 days.
Yeah, it takes the train right off the tracks, man. It's like you have all this momentum and you're going, and then all of a sudden it's just like, boop, see ya. Dude,
I know,
but
and
the
I
thing
hate
is,
it when I'm not like producing anything, and it's not even like producing content like for people to see, because like a lot of the stuff even I post, like nobody knows what I do behind the scenes. I have like literally a dozen projects that nobody will ever see the light of day, and I do those for myself.
yeah.
And it's like, but
Dude, the paintings, man, I love that.
the
I
what?
love the paintings of the shoes.
Oh, dude, thank you.
So skilled.
I do want to obviously. So there's a funny story behind that. Like, and I don't know if you know, I never painted before. Like a year ago, on March of 2000, what are we in 20? March of 2019, literally almost a year ago. I owned my house back then, and I was like, I need extra cash because like I was spending so much money at Home Depot and stuff like that working on it. And I was like, I went on Indeed and I'm like part-time jobs like for our artists and stuff like that. And like this part-time paint gig came up, and so we talked about the fake it till you make it. And they're like, so I submit this application. My resume obviously over exceeds what they normally hire because like I have a full-time job that like I'm good at. And then they were like, you need to submit 3 pieces of artwork. And I'm like, oh shit, I don't have any. And
Oh my
so
God, dude.
I had to create artwork to submit to get this job that I don't really need. And so a year later, it just developed, and it's really cool. I love that job. And currently, like obviously with Corona Land, like I don't work there anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't wait to go back because it taught me how to like speak and articulate in front of up to 50 people of like step-by-step instructions of how to do something.
Wait, are you doing painting classes?
Yeah.
That's what it is?
I teach people, they come sip some wine or beer, and I teach.
Dude, you're badass. That is sick.
And so the best part is it's helped me articulate the way that I instruct. And it's actually helped me at my real job where I work with a lot of people on a team and I'm able to articulate way, way better. And so I've pulled something from this part-time job that transpires into my full-time job and makes me a better person. And so, and it's made me a better art. Like I didn't know I really knew how to paint. And so now I do these like paintings and I love them, but they take 40 to 50 hours, man. It's like the patience behind that is like, I want to strangle every painting.
Oh my God. Yeah, dude. I took a painting class in college, and it was oil painting. And we would spend like an entire 3-hour class mixing paint for our palette. And like this teacher was so on point. Like she knew that that's what you need to do to make this painting good. And we were allowed to have like 4 colors in our bucket, but we had to mix every single paint to make the colors that we needed for our painting.
Oh shit.
Or like, I don't know, we had like, I don't know, like 5 colors, but dude, like I'm all about that. When there's something else that you can do that trickles into your craft.
Or like what your passion is.
That's what makes you unique, you know?
What's that?
I think that's what makes someone stand out and makes someone unique is like I don't know, like you look at some of these photographers that are shooting for Vogue covers and they're like, yeah, I was just a kid who filmed skateboarding when I was a little kid. And that skating angle, that the way they photograph their skating trickled into like how they photograph fashion. And it's a different take on it. So like the way you speak about your work might be affected by you giving these painting classes.
But that's exactly why, like, I'm even this, right? Like I didn't know how to do YouTube. And it's been around for so long, and I talked about it a little bit in the last episode, but it's like I didn't know about anything about this platform. And I'm like, I got to start creating YouTubes. I'm like, people have made a boatload of money. They've gotten out there. They've been able to promote things. They've been able to talk about their life. Every one of us has a story to tell, and that's really the premise of this. And I just want to have conversations with people to tell their story to hopefully better their life. Because, you know, you talked a little bit about what was the girl's name, Beth from Australia?
Yeah. She's actually from Rhode Island. I believe.
So
But
like,
we met in Australia. Like
right. Again,
crazy.
like so many of us don't have access to mentors or an influence, and they come from worse places than us. And like, if you can just show somebody that there is a light, that they can go after whatever they want to go after, they just really have to figure it out along the way. That's why I try to do every different type of medium there is, because I'm like, one day I'm going to need the skill from iMovie to fucking edit something that's going to affect
Yeah.
something else, and like, and then it's going to transpire and it's going to get me somewhere else, and like, it goes around, man. And it's like, but it's not easy. It's like I'm exhausted every fucking day.
Yeah, there's always too much to learn. I always think, I'm like, dude, I want to make a zine. Like I wanted to make a magazine. And for years I put it too far ahead of me. I was like, oh, that's too difficult to do. Like I could never do that. I need a designer. No, you don't need a
You
designer.
should make a magazine. I bet it'd be fucking sick.
Yeah, I made a few. But dude, you just hop on InDesign and just fucking do it.
Wait, have you printed a
80,
magazine?
20. I've done a few printed ones, just photo like journals and stuff. I'm gonna be doing one again. We're actually working on some like Corona images with my buddy. My buddy in Poland, he's a designer, which is even more ironic. He lives in Krakow.
No shit.
And I went to school with this kid from Poland. So, Pierdolę do zimy. I know a little bit of Polish.
Yeah, dude, I'm stoked. Like you should publicize that, because like your Corona Land images have been really, really, really good.
Thanks, brother.
And I love
Yeah.
this. Like you what did you say? You asked 200 people and you got like 12 yeses.
Oh, dude, I literally went on the street. Again, like another example of just like stop putting shit so far ahead of yourself or like so far away. I literally agonized with the idea of shooting 20 portraits for like 3 weeks. And it just like blew my mind that it's like I'm such a carefree person, like where I'm like, I am not afraid for people to judge me. But then when it comes to like asking someone for their picture, we all get those nerves where they're like, oh damn, like you're gonna get rejection. Dude, I went out there and did it. It was so easy. Insanely easy. The
Like what's
first
the
10 people I asked were like, nope, not me. Right? Yeah. So I switched my
what's
wording.
happened? You just kept moving.
Yeah. I literally asked 10 people. Everyone said no. Switched up my wording a little bit. 14 people said yes. Just like boom. In like an hour and a half.
So again, people, like if you're listening to this, like you got to try something and you're going to learn and it's going to progress and you're going to become better at understanding why you received a no.
Yeah.
And if you keep doing the same thing over and over for 200 straight times and you get no's every 200 times, you might want to reevaluate yourself, because then you're clearly not learning what you're doing wrong.
Yeah, it's the same, dude. It's the same thing, I'm sure, with your emails. If you're pitching brands and you pitch to 100 brands, and like my email script that I used to send to brands got so short because I knew that I was including too much information from not getting answers. And then eventually I came up with one script that worked, and I sent that to 40 brands, you know?
That's
and then, yeah, it just keep refining. And that's with every part of your practice.
That's awesome, man. I love that shit. So yeah, no, let me know when you launch that magazine. I think that's a super cool kind of creative outlet as well. Like, because then you have to build it out in a different way. It's not just photography. It's like how do you make those images stand alone on a page with like a couple pieces of text or a lot of text, and then what is the balance? I think that type of like graphic, like illustration and graphic design is just on a whole nother level.
Yeah.
That's
super difficult to do, and I'm not a designer, but like I know a little bit. I know how to lay it out and stuff. And for me, what I like to do is, which I only started doing recently, I've only done one journal, but dude, just making a contact sheet at Staples, cutting 40 images off a page, and then just puzzling them around. Biggest, like, mind-blowing, changing moment for my photography. Shit that, like, I knew I should have been doing that from the start, and I finally just was like, okay, like, let me move these pictures around. Print your stuff, see it in person, lay it on a table, flip it around.
That's a really, really great idea.
Even if you're not a photographer, print your pictures, put them in a journal, write in your journal.
Yeah.
You're going to look back at that moment, or you're going to learn every single day and be like, damn, like I wish I didn't handle that situation like I did. Or it gives you an opportunity to change your actions. I really love that. I think that's why I'm so addicted to photography and writing, and it's that like it makes me grow. It's like my version of therapy, you
Yeah.
know?
So I gotta ask about this, just due to the times. Like, has our like the global pandemic like affected your work at all, or like has it? You know.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I filed for unemployment. Freelancers can finally get it. Yeah, we do. Um, yeah, but I've been doing some shoots still. Shot some stuff for a jewelry company in my living room. Just like set up a small backdrop. Um, got like I still luckily like my girlfriend can do some modeling for me for some lifestyle stuff, so we can get outside and get some shots within distance of people. But I mean, this is a huge opportunity. I don't see this whole quarantine thing as like necessarily like obviously it's super negative. People are dying. Like that sucks. But for somebody healthy like me or you, dude, we have time on our side right now. When do you have this much time?
Never.
When?
I'm so happy you said that. I'm so thrilled because that's what people they keep saying it or they'll hear it from like somebody, but they don't do anything with it.
Dude, me and my girlfriend got sick right in the beginning of this. And we didn't get tested, but we both think we had it. But whether or not we had it or not, we had like 2 weeks of just like bedridden and it sucked and we were just bored and stuff. Now that we're healthy, we're running every day. We are doing yoga first thing in the morning. Dude, I'm getting so flexible.
I've never been able to touch my toes, man. And I trained and ran a marathon last year, so I've never been able to touch my toes.
Dude, I can touch my toes.
That's incredible. That is a feat in itself.
Dude, you want to see it? I'm just kidding.
That's
No.
another one. But I do want to ask you, and I don't know if you can or want to talk about it. But like before, the last time we really like chatted on Instagram was you were working with this guy in England.
Oh yeah, dude. I spent 2 months pretty much over there, and I learned massive amounts. But once this thing hit, um, they were like, "Yeah, it's not really working," so we cut it short. It was, dude, it was a great opportunity and a great experience, but it was not a good fit for me.
Oh,
Um,
really?
yeah, it wasn't a great fit for me. No
And
bad
so
blood.
you don't have to. I'll leave names off if you want to, but I think just to provide context for people because I don't want it to be too ambiguous. It's like you went to go work for somebody who has a very big following and who's like a very motivated.
It sounded like a dream job, to be
Yeah,
honest. You know what I mean? Um, but yeah, this entrepreneur guy, huge following, um, owns a like I don't know if you'd call it a creative agency, but he owns like some sort of like ad agency.
yeah,
Super inspiring guy to be around. And this dude works, man. He's on his phone 20 hours a day, like literally 20 hours a day. He wakes up, phone, probably like
to do a vlog for him once.
I was doing vlogs for him. That's what my job was. So I think we got through 3 vlogs in about 2 months or whatever. But
Then Corona hit.
yeah, and it was kind of like I'm so used to like when I work for somebody like having my take on it. Like, and it seemed like they hired me for my work, but then when I got there, it was like they just needed a body to just film like
Oh,
20 hours a day. It was strange. It was
huh.
really strange, but being around um, the guy and like all that he has done, he's only 27 years old. Me and him are the same age. He's worth God knows like hundreds of millions of dollars. Um,
Right.
and I'm still on good terms with him. He called me the other day and was just like, "Hey man, just wanted to check up on you." Like,
Oh, that's awesome.
yeah,
I mean, I've
great.
listened to a few of his interviews, and he seems like a really genuine, nice dude. And again, to your comments earlier in the conversation, it's like he works on another level. It's like a different planet.
Yeah,
And
he works on a totally different level.
but it's like you had to take that opportunity, and it's totally out of your comfort zone, right? Like you're moving back and forth between a different country from
Yeah,
from a place and a job that like was in New York City.
yeah. They have an office in New York too, and they have an office in Manchester, a few different offices. And we were traveling a lot, and then it was only gonna like ramp up more because he has any speaking events. But it's kind of like as soon as he wakes up, like boom, I'm there filming, and then he works till like probably 8 at night, and then I'd go home and have to upload
Then you got to
all the
do it
footage
all.
onto my hard drive, and then after uploading it to my hard drive, I had to upload it to Google Drive, which is extremely slow. And then on top of it, I was trying to edit during that time. So like I'm not traditionally a videographer. I was learning all those skills. They found me. I didn't apply for that job.
They found
And,
you?
yeah, they found me. They just emailed me and were like, "Hey, we really love your photography work."
Did you ever ask how they found you?
They said LinkedIn.
Seriously?
Yeah. They said LinkedIn. They were like, "Dude, we found your LinkedIn, and then we checked your website, and we need a videographer in New York. Like, do you do video?" And I was like, "I really don't, but I can go make a video for you right now." And then they were like, "Cool, get back to us like in a day or so." And I literally just like asked my buddy, "Can I just like follow you around for like a couple hours while you're doing your shoot, take some video of you, and then just have you talk to the camera a little bit?" And I just the next morning sent that to them, and then they were like, "Sweet, you got the job."
That is a fucking rock star of a fucking story right there.
So show, don't tell.
I love that. That is incredible. Because like it was so funny because you responded. I remember I shared an Instagram story of a mutual, I guess a colleague or somebody. He works for a fashion brand and he buys Vibram's product. And he was on this guy's podcast, and I shared it, and you're like, "Oh, I'm working for that dude," and I'm like, "What?"
Oh yeah. Dude, he's a fucking inspiration. And I don't think like saying his name is like a bad thing.
Okay, I didn't like it's totally up to you. I don't.
Yeah, Steven Bartlett. There you go, guys. Check him out. He's fucking sick.
Oh, he
Does a lot
does
of
some
good
really,
stuff.
really cool stuff and motivational stuff. If you ever need like a kick in the dick to get going, like just
Dude, check his podcast out. Like I'm not like the biggest fan of say his Instagram or whatever, but if you check his podcast, he really gets really candid there. And he had just had so much great advice from me. He literally, I told him I wanted to start a creative agency, pitched him my idea, blah blah blah, and I was like, but dude, where do you start? Where do you find a client? How do I find my first client? And he said, have you tried writing 100 handwritten letters? And I said, I haven't. And he was like, I did. He was like, I wrote 100 handwritten letters to companies that I wanted to work for, and I had this. He did like social media marketing back then or whatever it was. And he's like, I hit up 100 companies, and he was like, one got back to me. He goes, that is still my client, and that is my biggest client.
dude,
Yeah,
if that's not a story, I don't know what is. That is beautiful.
and he was like, if you haven't written 100 handwritten letters, he's like, you're not trying. He's just so raw like that, like just like you're not trying. He's like, are you trying? Some kid came up to him and asked him for advice, and he said, oh, so what are the analytics on your post? Because he was like, how do I grow my Instagram? This kid asked Steve that. Steve was like, what are the analytics? Like, have you been checking up on the numbers? What does well, what doesn't do well? And he was like, yeah, no, I haven't. And he was like, then you're not trying. Do not come back to me unless you're trying. Don't ask me for advice unless you're trying.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Dude, it's so, I mean,
bullshit.
It's so easy to reach people these days. Like, I mean, granted, I don't have a following, but people seem to genuinely appreciate, putting a normal human within a creative job. And like, I'll get DMs from like Afghanistan or like fucking Indonesia, kids from all over this globe of like, how do I do footwear design or how do I get into it? And like, and then they're like, how do I find this product? Or like, they'll ask just questions. I'm like, you can Google that. I'm not going to answer that question for you because you haven't done any legwork.
Yeah. You know what? Like I did make one tutorial, and right before we started this conversation, I was listening to your first YouTube channel thing, and then I was answering this kid's email, and so many people DM me, but I appreciated that he emailed me, that he found my email from my website because my email is not on my Instagram. So he found my email and then asked me, how do I edit this? And I said, well, I have a YouTube video on how to edit this. Here you go.
Dude. So I have a very, very similar and very strange time story. Literally last week, I'm going to shout his name out, Daniel Park. He's from Texas. He's going to school for product design. He wants to be a footwear designer. He found my email too. And
Yeah.
instead of just sliding into my DMs like everyone else, he was like, he found my email, sends me an email. He's like, hey man, like, would you be okay to like answering a few questions? And then I'm like, I'm not going to send you an email with those questions. Let's talk on the phone. Because I value that way more than sending an email because it's in person. But the same thing, the fact that he just didn't take the easy route and he's like, I'm going to do it differently. I'm like, I'll do anything for you.
That's so sick, dude. I love that you called him.
Dude, who wants to, like, everybody can answer basic email like okay, like, how did you get into footwear design? How did you do this? How did you do that? And like, even the timing wise, it was before I dropped the prelude, and I'm like, I answer a lot of those questions, but I was like, the fact that you took an extra step, I'll give you even more time.
Yeah, dude, a little effort goes a super long way. On this note, because we are both on the same wavelength when it comes to answering people, or like I answer damn near everybody, and I know that's not scalable. Like if I get, I don't know, 100,000 followers,
I think that's an excuse though. I think it is. I think you can do it.
Yeah, or hire somebody to answer for you.
Totally, figure it out.
That's what Steve does. He has got like a whole team, and they're just every single thing. He's like, they're answering, they're giving advice, whatever. But no, I watched this YouTube video the other day of this photographer who's got like damn near 1 million followers now, and I'm not a fan of the work, but I was just interested, like, because it came up, whatever, and it's like the photos are like akin to porn, you know. It's like the chicks are Instagram naked chicks. Yeah. And they like did this video of him and like we're asking about his process and like it's him shooting this naked girl, and then it's like they asked him if he had any advice for beginners, and he was like, yes, don't ask me for any advice, like, ever. He's like, the worst thing you can do is ask somebody for advice. And I was like, bullshit. Like it like pissed me off because I remember being that kid and asking people for advice and just getting no's or nobody answering.
The worst.
And it like hurt, like it hurts your soul. Like you're like, this is my favorite photographer, like, or even they're like a small photographer, 10,000 followers, whatever. And you're like, I remember starting and not knowing how to do things and like researching the shit out of it and having no answer. And just a slip, like you don't have to give somebody the answer, but a little bit of guidance.
That's it.
You know? I have no secrets, man. That's like, I have no secrets. If you're willing to put the time in, like, and go try and do it, like you still have to put the camera in your hand and go out and get the shot.
Totally.
So if I tell you how to edit like me, I don't care. People are so secretive with how they edit. I'm like,
you still got to go put in the work.
Yeah, I don't care. I don't care. Like I put up one tutorial on YouTube on how to edit, and it's literally like how I edit damn near everything. So if you want to go and watch it and copy the shit out of it, cool. I would hope that you put your own spin on it, but
no, but still, even, you know, I think I always can appreciate, you know, it's the same thing in my field, right? Like you can learn everything the same way, but you still got to put the work in. And if you do get to the same level, it's actually going to push me even harder, and I will never let you pass me.
Yes. I love that.
I'm just way too competitive. I'm like competitive with like everybody. I don't care who you are.
Dude, I'm like the least competitive person. I don't even believe in competition because I think if I get competitive, I go overboard. I will literally like if it was a fight, I would just bite your ear off like Tyson. That's why I stay away from that competitive shit, Dave.
Everyone's got their own reasons. But what's so you hinted at it just now. What's like the website that people can go check out your work?
AtticusRadley.com.
It's very simple. We'll put it right there below. I like to use my little pointers and then I pop it up down there. I learned how to do that, like bring in images and make them go away. That was kind of cool. I'll do more of that. Anything else, dude? We've been chopping it up for an hour 20 already.
Yeah, I ramble. I think one thing I learned from this is
There
that
was no rambling. I promise you, there was no rambling.
I need to get my origin story more sorted.
But that's the thing. Like, how many, like, you may or may not ever get a chance to tell that story. And I think that's what I want from this is like, I want people who are trying to do something better with their life, and they're trying to expand, creativity, to really just have an opportunity just to talk about themselves a little bit, and to talk about ideas. Because dude, we've talked about a lot of ideas that somebody's going to get inspired by, and somebody's going to go run.
Yeah, and I think you're not only helping educate people, but you're building a community.
That's what it's about.
I'll never forget from this, dude. Are you kidding me? So
yeah,
sick.
I'm so stoked, and like I love that like we're just naturally able to talk for so long, and so it's going to become this thing, and like I already have the next like 3 or 4 lined up, and we're different. So the first kid's like Shane's like he does oil paintings and stuff, but his story is just so incredible. And then yourself as a photographer, I have a writer, I have a fashion designer, I have somebody who works at City Hall here in Worcester, like, and they're all creative in their totally different ways, and like, and they're all on the same playing field.
Yeah, I love that, dude. And I think if you're a kid looking to get into the shoe game, if you're somebody looking to get into photography, or if you want to be an illustrator, there are pieces of business advice that you can take from all of these different disciplines. Like, one person might get on here and be like, dude, you need to have a newsletter. You need to have an email newsletter for repeat customers, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Dude, you can learn from every different aspect. So I like that you're doing different disciplines.
Yeah, I mean, footwear, just doing footwear design is that would be a cop out, in my opinion. Like, that's not pushing me hard enough, because that's just like, that's like my entire like relationships, right? Because like I'm very fortunate to work for Vibram, that we have the opportunity to work with so many different brands. So like naturally, just through business, you have those connections. That's a cop. Like I want to, everyone I'm having, I have relationships with, where we have these little clicks in time of conversations of like, oh, I love that you posted this, or this really, there's actual conversation, and like it's a step beyond just like clicking follow. Mm-hmm. And like some of the future, I'm just stoked. Like, this is awesome, and I'm stoked for everything other one else. And like, I just, to your point about community, like that's what it's all about. And if more people just help each other out, dude, this world is gonna be a better place.
Yeah, and I think you're building a community with this, man. I think it's gonna be really sick. And when you get to 100, of these, dude, I'm sending you a bottle of champagne.
Yeah.
Yes.
Dude, that's motivation. I fucking love some bubbly. Let's go.
Dude.
All right. Well,
thank you for doing this. Thank you.
Let's cool. Thanks for joining us on episode 2 of An Untold Narrative. Atticus Radley, you can follow him at Atticus Radley.
Yep. Nice and simple.
And atticusradley.com. Any other things that you post on?
Check my website, Instagram, whatever you want to do. If you want to ask me questions, don't hesitate.
Do you do the TikTok or TikTok?
No, I just got one, but I don't TikTok.
I got one too, like a month ago, and I've been slowly trying to do it, but like now I've done this, and it's so much work, and like I'm like, but again, that's just an excuse. But like that's where the attention is. Again, it's like I gotta get there.
Dude, that's inspiring. I think I gotta get on TikTok, and I might be under a different alias, so I don't lose clients. They're like, this dude's too crazy. This dude's too crazy.
Dude, I follow photographers who have a massive following on TikTok, and they show how they do their photography, and dude, it's super DIY. Like the younger generations, they love understanding how things are done and made, and that's like, I think that's a dream for you.
Yeah, it is like such a crazy angle to be like, to teach people. I think like we can go on another rant with this one. If you're a novice, you could teach.
We're gonna do more TikTok episodes. Follow Atticus Radley. Thank you for joining us. Man, it was really good to connect. Next time I'm in New York, we are going to get together in person.
Hell yes.
Hopefully once Corona Land gets over and done with. And yeah, stay in touch. Reach out. Everybody click the fucking subscribe button. I think that does me well on YouTube. I don't know. I think the like does really well. You have a YouTube page as well.
I think it's just Atticus Radley.
There you go. Nice and easy. So we'll keep it moving. Thanks, man. We'll probably, this will be up probably, I'm going to try to do this every Monday. That's my goal.
That's rad.
Like Motivation Mondays. Like I'm a big cheese ball about that shit. Like if I could do it every Monday, that's the goal.
Yeah. So dude, if you ever need anything, hit me up, man. If you ever need any like editing done or something where I can help, I appreciate you.
That.
Massively inspired by you. I think you're doing great stuff, dude.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Same. Likewise. Peace out, man. Thank you.
All right. Enjoy your day.
All right. Cheers.